Hey guys, it's Wednesday, August 30th, 2017. It's hump day. This is the Daily Mix TV. You know, in the mid 1990s through the Great Recession, the licensing sector was booming. Licensing is all about leveraging the value of your intellectual property to gain revenue. The practice allows companies across different product categories to use popular brand names like Disney on their products. So that covers apparel, books, toys, and more. And what's included in this is you have to pay a fee, a licensing fee, and royalties on the sale of every product. Now let's put this into different terms. Disney Consumer Products reaped a record $40.9 billion in sales in 2013. Now let's flash forward to today, where licensing is trending down because products at retail and online are just not doing the same volumes, unless they're tied to a blockbuster movie property like a Star Wars or something like that. But today, franchising is exploding. So franchising is the new licensing. In other words, so a franchise is a type of license that a party acquires to allow them to have access to a business's proprietary knowledge, their processes, and trademarks in order to allow that party to sell a product or provide a service under the business's name. So the party that purchases in, that's a franchisee, from the party that's selling it, that's the franchisor. So in exchange for gaining the franchise, the franchisee usually pays the franchisor an initial startup and annual licensing fees, as well as royalties on sales for marketing and sales initiatives. Now, every day we hear of new companies, especially in beauty, health, and food, that have a franchising effort. Now, we've talked about this before with companies like Orange Theory Fitness, Massage Envy, and my friend Wayne Rosenbaum's New York hot doggery, Papaya King. Now, don't think this through too hard. I know it's a pain in the neck and I know it's complicated, but I've represented a lot of franchise businesses for both PR, advertising, and sponsorships over my career. Now, like every other business, there are those CEOs who genuinely care about incentivizing their employees and their franchisee base. As an example, you've heard me talk about Joe Magnaca, who's the CEO of Massage Envy. They've got about a little over 1,100 locations. I often see Joe promoting his employees and franchisees on both his personal and corporate social feeds like LinkedIn. He does it not only to keep the business community informed, but also to give credit where it's due. Now, Joe is one of those very rare CEOs who's incredibly passionate, he's driven, and he always does what he says he's going to do. And I'm going to give you a great example. When he was the CMO at Duane Reade, he created the Look Boutique and the new flow for convenience that the chain has become synonymous with. Now, when I asked Joe about his comments on social, he said, quote, "We are committed to supporting the franchisee employee base by creating consistent messaging through centralized social media and employee brand reputation management to ensure that the franchisee can further leverage the network strategy and personalize the program for their employees." Well, let's talk about the last part of that quote. Personalize the program for their employees. Joe is one of those guys who genuinely does care about his people. And I love CEOs like him because they do everything they can to actually make a difference. Then there are other CEOs and executives at companies and franchisors alike who begin to believe their own positioning by using, lexicon like culture, when in fact they don't practice what they preach. Joe is someone who likes to promote franchisees and employees because of the good work that they do for the betterment of the company. People like Joe and Wayne Rosenbaum genuinely care about their network and employees, which is why they're doing so well. Kudos, gentlemen. After all, it isn't just about culture. It's about actually doing what you say you're going to do and giving the right amount of support, whether it be marketing or sales or just a pat on the back, where it belongs. Anheuser-Busch is on a roll. We all know the Bud Light Bowl that happens during the Super Bowl every year. It's a brilliant execution of sponsorship marketing for Budweiser. Well, now the company's Lime-A-Rita brand is getting in on the action. They've got a shiny new official NFL sponsor badge affixed to their brand. They issued a statement in a press release. Quote, "Lime-A-Rita has brought fun to stadiums for the past 5 years, and this season, the brand is looking to take it to the next level. The activation will allow the brand to celebrate the NFL's passionate female fans through larger team integrations, featuring a variety of ready-to-drink margaritas. Whether fans are experiencing the game from the stands or their couch, Lime-A-Rita will be there to bring flavor to every play. Now, given the announcement, it's clear that they haven't finalized their plans to support the sponsorship yet. Now, I'm sure there's tons of great concepts floating around on the table for them, and it's close to approval given the time frame. And yeah, this is fairly normal for a company like Anheuser-Busch. In terms of the timing, you got a lot of players involved who've got to make decisions and approvals, so it's understandable, and I have no doubt, given their history, that the activation they do is going to be killer, especially for the female audience, which now accounts for about 40 to 45% of NFL viewers. Now, this brings to the forefront a different conversation we really need to have. So many sponsorships are paid for, but just not supported properly. And it drives me crazy. Just because you have the right to use the NFL logo on your product's packaging does not mean that's going to automatically increase sales. You need to spend at least dollar for dollar on the sponsorship in terms of marketing support. So the actual math should be 1.5 times your sponsorship fee in marketing dollars. So as an example, if the company spent $3 million on the sponsorship, they should be spending $4.5 million to support it in marketing. And yeah, that's a lot of money. Could you get away with going dollar to dollar at $3 million? Of course you can. But remember, that budget does include advertising, PR, experiential, social, and any special promotions around the sponsorship, which is a must when you're getting into something like the NFL. Now, that's a lot to activate. I negotiated the first Spirit sponsorship for the NBA for a client of mine and explained the same exact thing to that client at that time and got approval. But a new VP joined the brand at the time and decided he didn't want to spend the amount of money. So the sponsorship, while it still delivered an incredible amount of volume of press and promotion, it could have been a lot better if it had been promoted or properly supported with the appropriate budget. So the net here is simple, guys. Don't do sponsorships, especially big ones like this, unless you're prepared to support it equally and properly. Now, a Portland, Oregon man has filed a class action lawsuit against Showtime. Unfortunately, he cited the poor quality of the Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight this past weekend. The complaint, which was filed in federal court in Oregon, is seeking a $200 in statutory damages or actual damages for each person in the action, whichever is greater. So Zach Bartell is the guy's name. He filed the suit because he bought the fight on the Showtime app in iTunes, and instead of watching it in high def as it was advertised, he got grainy, crappy video that had buffering issues and error messages. His suit has claimed that Showtime engaged in, quote, unlawful trade practices and, quote, unjust enrichment. Now, the claim essentially is that Showtime was ill-prepared to deal with the volume of subscribers, and that's why the execution fell short. Showtime has since issued a statement to MMA Junkie, quote, we received a very limited number of complaints. We're reviewing all of them carefully, and we will respond accordingly. Refunds are handled at the point of sale. So with regard to Showtime's direct-to-consumer, our online offering of ShowtimePPV.com and Showtime PPV app, for those that could not see the fight on those platforms, Showtime will issue a full refund. Of course, the goal is to deliver at the highest quality all of the content. Rival HBO was slammed for losing out on the fight, given the popularity of Mayweather and the promotion around this particular card. Now, here's where I have an issue. If you know how popular something's going to be and you can project that, and in this case you really could, Showtime should have upped the ante on their back end to accommodate for the amount of broadband that they needed. Now, the other problem here is their brand is going to take a big hit in terms of how consumers view them go forward. Now, does Facebook have an age problem? And will it lead to lower ad revenues on the platform? Well, according to statistics, yes. Facebook is losing its teen audience more and more to Instagram. While Facebook owns Instagram and it is the company's saving grace with this demographic, Snapchat is still a threat, guys. They've got a projected growth in this demo to be around 19% over the next year. They are still a viable threat to Instagram and Facebook, just not one that is as dangerous as it could have been given the problems that Snapchat's going through right now. My point in bringing this up is not all demographics are created equally. The 18 to 24 demo has always been a revenue sweet spot for marketers. but not all products and services are appropriate for that age group. Hence why I think to have Instagram under the Facebook banner makes sense, and why I believe it leaves Facebook to focus on millennials who had left the platform but have come back because they're starting to show signs of Generation X and baby boomer behavior patterns. So Apple's hotly anticipated keynote event is scheduled for September 12th, but Cupertino is being even more elusive than usual. Part of the challenge is whether or not the Steve Jobs Theater at their new spaceship campus is going to be ready in time. The other part of is a litany of issues related to the products they're supposed to be releasing. Now, don't worry, guys. This is fairly normal for Apple. It's unusual that consumers hear about those back-end problems, but there are a lot of leaks and, there are certain things that are happening on the back end to affect change in some of the deals that they're trying to close. Now, we're going to dive deeper into the September 12th event tomorrow, but for today, does Apple have a Hollywood problem on their hands? On the 12th, they're supposed to be announcing a new Apple TV that supports 4K. Tim Cook and company have been busy talking to studios about the pricing for films that are released in 4K. Cook wants to keep the price for 4K movies at around the $20 price point that 1080p releases are now. But studios are being greedy and want more money, by about $5 or $10 more. That's a little egregious and very short-sighted. Cook's argument is sound in that more consumers will stream these movies at his price point because they're already used to paying that, versus the wall that the studios will end up building because they're penny-wise and pound-foolish. Now, that could be the reason why yesterday it was announced the summer movie season has brought in the lowest revenue since 2006 at under $4 billion domestically. That's a massive drop. These guys need to wake up and stop relying on blockbuster superhero films to bolster their revenues before it's too late, and somebody actually does get early releases released on streaming, such as what the noise has been in Hollywood for the last couple of weeks. Now, speaking of Hollywood, Netflix and Marvel are on a tear lately. They recently released The Defenders. It was about a couple of weeks ago now. The trailer for The Punisher, and now they're showing stills from the set of season 2 of Luke Cage. The stills feature Misty Knight's new bionic arm, which is bringing her closer to the actual character from the comic books. I loved Luke Cage as a series, season 1. It was brilliantly done. Netflix and Marvel do a great job in putting this out. Here's a shot of Misty Knight from our friends at Entertainment Weekly for you guys. It really is a well-done series, and I can't wait to see what Season 2 is going to look like. Now, the Daily Mix is going to have a shortened version tomorrow, and we'll be off on Friday and Monday celebrating Labor Day, returning on Tuesday to welcome everyone back from the holiday weekend. My name is Sean Patrick Hillman. I'm the CEO of Hill Story Marketing. I'm also the editor-in-chief of the Daily Mix TV. We would love to hear from you, so please email us at thedailymixtv@gmail.com. Have a great rest of your hump day, guys. We'll catch you tomorrow.